Welcome back. This is the remediation for experimental design for Algebra 2, and this is section 11.8. And this is the section where some of you don't like it simply because there's not just one right answer, and you do have to explain yourself. So it's a little bit of a tiny essay that you're writing for me on these questions. Determine whether you should do an observational study or a survey or an experiment, and you have to justify your answer and explain the process. So this is where some of you just weren't thorough enough. You want to know how students and parents feel about school uniforms. So most people selected a survey. So you're going to have to write what you're going to do and how you're going to distribute the survey. And I can't really tell you how to answer this one. I want you to try this on your own, but, I'm thinking survey. Okay. You need to make sure that you explain how and who gets the survey. And make sure it's just a sample. Or if you don't feel a sample is appropriate, if you feel like the whole population is appropriate, then you have to explain why. You got to make sure that everything, excludes any bias. You have to just make sure whatever you write down makes a lot of sense. Like, this is not a moment to be weird and come up with something creative. So, let's talk about this question. You want to survey a sample of your student population regarding the length of the lunch period. So there's some keywords there. We're going to survey a sample of the population. So the entire population would be the student population. And I just want a sample, but you got to make sure a couple of things are done properly. How are you going to distribute the survey? So again, you're going to explain to me, how are you going to distribute and to whom? You got to make sure it's representative of the sample, or of the population, So make sure it represents the whole population. Now, I don't mean to survey the whole population, because it does say a sample, but what I don't want to see is, I went to a lunch table and I gave it to all my friends. Like, that is not representative of the entire population of your school. So you need to make sure you have a random. So that's the other clue here. How is it random? And random is tricky because sometimes people say like, I just stand in the hallway and I ask people. Well, that's not random because number one, people who don't know you might not want to talk to you. People who do know you are going to talk to you, like your friends. You're technically choosing who you're talking to because you're ignoring everybody else, so that's not random at all. You're actually choosing which person you talk to. So think of a more systematic way that you can do it. Make sure it's random, and make sure that there is no bias. Be very careful that you don't accidentally give yourself bias in the way that you distribute it. Like, for instance, if you only give the survey to all seniors, well, you have biased the data because you're only getting opinions of seniors. Okay? So make sure it's representative of the whole population, but only a sample of that. This is my favorite question because it's literally about bias. So I want to know who's going to college. We're going to give out surveys, and I collected the data by interviewing students from a calculus class. Well, this is very biased because every single child in an AP Calc class is going to be going to college. And does that really represent the true population? So here's where some of you kind of fell through when it came to doing the test. You have to explain a better method, okay? So don't forget to do this part. And again, make sure it's random and unbiased, just like the previous question. So my rule for these questions is write, and write some more. If you think you haven't written enough, write another sentence that explains it more thoroughly. The only thing that you're going to do wrong is not be thorough enough. So make sure that you just keep writing until you feel like you've answered the question fully. All right, good luck, everybody.